Okay, so apparently this week the new moon is in Virgo, which is all about decluttering, cleaning, whatever. So thankfully I'm right at this stage again in decluttering some decks. So let's see what I'm getting rid of and why. Okay, the first one is a relatively new purchase. I love James Van Prague, and I mean, I love him. I'm like a fan. I whoosh and swoosh all over his content. But the messages from the guides, I feel that how can I put this without sounding like I'm in freaking ego land? I feel like once you work through this deck and you've absorbed the messages, the deck is done. I guess it's time to move on. Is that what you'd say? You're closing the door for this deck? It's a really, really good spiritual lesson deck. For instance, this card that's just popped up at the top, Follow the Golden Rule. It's about treating people how you'd like to be treated. So if you're new to walking on your spiritual path, this is a really good deck to get. I recently just released his love deck, worked with that for months and months and months and months and months, and I just felt like it was time to release. And that's how I feel like with this one. You will see that I've had the shorts for this deck, and great messages. I can't fault this deck. I can't fault this deck, but it's time for it to move on. You know, it's time for that deck to go. So that's one deck that I'm getting rid of. I mean, look at this. Trust your intuition. Perfect message. I'm trusting my intuition. I'm moving on. I want to live my bliss. I want to declutter. I don't need lots of decks around to confuse the heck out of me which one I'm going to utilize. I really like to simplify. So that's the first deck I'm getting rid of. My beautiful James Van Prague. I love him. He's such a beautiful teacher. Now the next deck, I've been trying to get rid of this one for a while. It doesn't want to leave my collection. I never vibe with this deck at all. I thought I would. Maybe I've had all the Kyle Gray decks about angels. I don't vibe with this one whatsoever. The Diana Cooper deck, the 44 cards. I don't know why. I just don't vibe with it. Like if I pulled a card right now, we'll see what it says. Let's see what we've got. Who are you? Archangel Malroy. Remember who you are. Take action when you're ready. Well, I'm certainly ready to get rid of this deck. So, if you're into angels, it's a great deck. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not into them as much as I was. Maybe I've, come full circle, need to clear out in order to bring different teachers and different learnings in here. It says, when you receive this card, it indicates that you have a font of accent wisdom within you. It is time to access this and bring it forward to help yourself and others. You are required to delve deep into your inner being and access long forgotten understandings, symbols, and information. You have earned and learned these on your long soul journey through the universe. When you reach the storehouse of your true deep self, you'll be amazed as you realize who you truly are. So I'm looking at meditating more, hence why decluttering decks. So I don't know I think I've done a review on this one, but it's not for me. Never was. Sorry, not for me. Right, another one that these are all Hay House, isn't it funny? Hay House. I loved, many years ago, I bought the Sonia Croquette app through, I think it was Hay House, through meditations. It was friggin' awesome. But guess what? Once the Apple update came, the app didn't work. And that's what actually stopped me and prevented me by buying any more apps for anybody. If, you buy it in good faith, thinking that you'll always have it. Her meditations are freaking awesome. Do you think I can get those meditations again? No. So I will never, ever, I don't care who you are, I will never support an app about anything. Okay, simply for that reason. Okay. Go back to, give me a CD any day. All right, so I really like this one. I've done a review of this one, but it's time to go. So, I feel like I'm on Big Brother. It's time to go. Ask your guides. I will put the link to the review up on the box here, and you can have a look at it. So see if you like that one. It's a nice deck. Okay. This one, I have just done lots of recordings with Blessed Be. I like this deck, but it's not something that I would constantly pull for. I think this is more of a lesson deck. So, and I'll tell you why. And I'm a big firm believer about setting intentions, and what we say is what we manifest, and how that can help us in our relationships or in our daily practice. Now, it's got a great book, this one, I must say. Fantastic guidebook. I love it when the picture is there for the card. To me, that wins 10 points, honestly, because I think it makes it much easier when you're trying to remember the meaning of the card and you visualize it. I'm a very big visualizing person. But let me show you why this is a great deck, but one that I have, for me, pre-recorded the lessons that I need to know, so I'll always be able to find it on my own channel about these prayers, I guess you want to say, or set of intentions. So let's pull a card. I hope this is going to work out here. Let's pull a card, see what we've got. A blessing for those who are nearing their final breath. So this is obviously something, or a lesson that you don't want to be pulling this card. It's more about if you need this message, if you need the assistance for this. So obviously you're going to have okay, so we're back. I had to get the door. So you're going to really want, you have a friend, family member who's about to transition. You can easily then get this guidebook out, say a prayer for their transition. I feel like this deck is more about lessons and intentions rather than something or a card pull that you're going to utilize daily like an oracle deck. So let's pull another one, see if we can get something else out. A blessing for unity where once there was division. So again, another lesson. So if you're wanting to reunite with people that you're having issues with, or a family member that it's stressful, the booklet itself will discuss a prayer or intention for our higher selves to help guide us. So it's a bit like to be utilized in meditation. Fabulous deck for this if you haven't got anything that's similar. A blessing on your wisdom. Don't we all know that? We need that one. And a blessing to lift sadness. So you can see here, this is more of a lesson deck, a setting of intention deck. I feel like it's great, but I've already pre-recorded I want to say prayers or intentions that I feel like I can always find again and play. Okay, so it's a lovely deck, one that I feel would be nice on a Kindle, you know, as a prayer book, but it's a lovely deck if you haven't got anything similar, or if you need some creativity in order to invoke that or discuss and talk about. So some examples of the cards are, where is there an index? We'll just go through some of the index, shall we? So it gives you an idea. It's got, oh gosh, it doesn't have an index. Can you believe it? All right. A blessing on your health, a blessing on a home, a blessing on the children, a blessing for a mother, a blessing for good men and fathers, a blessing on a friendship. So I hope that gives you an sort of some examples of how I feel this deck should be utilized. I've got a very good prayer book by a famous medium. Can't think of it at the top of my head, but I'll put her name here. I love it and I utilize it. It helped me a lot when I was working through a situation. It helped me invoke the white light around the circumstance. So this is a lovely deck, one that, but I feel that I don't need it in my collection. As I said, I'm trying to simplify my collection, not have a lot of decks around, but a very good, helpful deck. A bit like the James Van Praagh one, you know, a bit like the Ask Your Guides one. Very, very helpful. Now, this is a beautiful deck. You're going to see a few of these cards pop up every week. Debbie Malone was a psychic, if you're unaware of. There was a TV show called The One where they tested psychics and mediums, and she won. She won this. You can Google her. She's from Cronulla, Sydney here. And to think of, I'd love a reading from her. She has actually done a reading on somebody who was murdered or off a boat or something, gave information about that. Lovely deck by Rockpool. One thing I love about this deck is the simplicity of it. I feel like it's nice, but again, I've outgrown this. It's very similar to the blessing one. I feel like once I've made my content of recording the messages on here and I can reflect back about the affirmations to be utilized for this lesson, I'm good. I'm all good. I don't need the cards. You know, I can always reflect back on my channel and the recordings that I've done. So if we pull a card here, I will have, I have done the information about this deck. I'll put the link up in the description box as well. So we've got Angel of Stress. So needed today. So again, this booklet's beautiful. It's in color. Which, I mean, bravo to Rockpool. I mean, this is a beautiful, look at this. It is a beautiful booklet, you know, like if ever you lost a card, you can always, you know, look at the book and just do that and find a message. So again, you can pull a card with the affirmation, the meaning of the card, or again, you can look up that lesson. So for instance, if I had issues with my dog, you know, like if I had issues with my dog, and with the review that I've done about this deck, I did utilize this deck live so I can discuss about cards and the messages of reading. So if I had issues with my dog, you know, I would go to the Angel of the Animal Realm card. So, you know, we've got manifestation, truth, release, divine timing, creativity, the parking angel, the chakra balancing angel. So lovely deck. I feel like this is a really good deck for somebody starting out, how to utilize angels, how to utilize intentions, how to utilize meditation. Beautiful deck, lovely. But again, it's got to go from my collection. I can hear people go, oh, you know, like, I don't want to have all of these decks. This is not what I'm about, you know, like I'm all for people having collections, but for me, it's not working with me because I feel suffocated. You know, I feel it's making me stressed having all of this stuff around. I just really want to work with a few decks and maybe buy one a year and, you know, work on that. So board you again, I've done some recordings for this Wisdom on the Golden Path. This was one of the first Oracle decks that I purchased, and I purchased this because I was very new to Periscope at the time and someone would utilize this. Now, I watched a lady, she would meditate every morning. I think it was her time, 4 or 5 in the morning. For me, it was quite late. It was probably maybe 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Now, her practice of meditation was so motivating. She just would have one deck, and it was very similar to this one. If it wasn't this one, it was something very similar from Lucy Cavendish, maybe. Just one deck she had, you know, and that's, to me, that's all you need. Well, maybe not all I need, but, or maybe not what all you need, but it just made me realize her practice and the attention she put into her practice. So I loved watching her do her meditations, and she was such a joy and love. So this deck here has, it's a bit like, I want to say, meditations through it. Lovely. And I mean, I've got the other deck by Tony. I feel like this, to me, is the best artistry I've seen work of his. Maybe because he didn't paint it, somebody else did. But isn't it beautiful? Beautiful cards. Again, you'll see on my channel that these cards will occasionally pop up. You will have in the booklet itself, it's very simple. You know, you've got the picture there, you've got what the card's about, and you've got affirmations, which I love. Beautiful deck, but it's outgrown my time. I've had this for a long time, probably since 2015, say maybe 2016. And that's probably 7 years, you know, like I think I've had it about 7 years. So that would be probably about right, because it's probably when I was just starting out on my journey. So lovely deck, beautiful. But again, I feel like it's time to release, and it's okay to release. It's okay. All right. See how I'm talking myself into this? It's okay, Diane. They're like my children's fly little cute cards. Fly. Now, this one I recently bought. It's a great deck, but I'm one that I don't respond to that well. Like, I'm really looking at how I utilize the tarot cards and tarot decks, and I feel the key imagery for me doesn't work for me, you know. So lovely deck, lovely imagery. The booklet itself is fantastic. Look at this. It's like wallpaper, isn't it? The cards themselves, beautiful. I think I've spoken about this deck here, but you will, again, you'll see a few of these cards pop up over time. The information, the booklet itself, you know, Hay House has dropped the ball a little bit. You can see I've put some scribble on here. They don't have the picture anymore, you know, like that's just, for me, you know, I feel like, why did you do that? I love some meanings of the cards. It's really taught me about some meanings of the cards. Can't think at the top of my head. The Tower. Let's say the Tower. So it's really about disruption. And it says here, the vulture, however, is no pushover. It doesn't cower or fall prey to disaster. So I love the way it speaks about the animals. If you're into animal energy, you will love this. Like, I mean, look at this. It's just beautiful. The artistry. I think she's left Hay House. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I think she's just recently left Hay House. Maybe it didn't give her the platform that she thought she would have. Maybe she lost control. I'm not too sure the reasoning of that. To me, I feel like Hay House has really dropped the ball. I mean, if anyone gets emails from Hay House, you would see how old-fashioned they are. They really haven't stepped into the future of social media. I find them a bit spammy in their emails. And I was part of one group, and I found it a bit off-putting, actually, because I decided not to renew my membership for that course, I guess you could say, or membership group. And I'd been there since the beginning, and I decided not to do that. And they wrote to me, said, "Oh, are you renewing?" No, I'm not. And then they wrote back to me and they said, "Oh, and by the way, we see that you're no longer getting their emails." And I thought, gosh, I find that a bit rude. Like, yes, that's my choice. I don't want to get their emails. They're too repetitive, and everything that they email is on social media anyway. And I don't want to have, like, I feel like it's dangerous to be constantly receiving something from the one person for years and years and years and years. I feel like it's important to look at various people and get different aspects of spirituality from different people. And the way that person has moved doesn't relate to what I enjoy. So, you know what I mean? I just thought, well, that's a bit of, I don't know. I didn't know how to feel about that. Let me know how you feel about that. Now, the last deck I'm getting rid of this week is the Tarot of the Divine. This has been around for a while. And when I say old, it probably hasn't been around that long. I've done a review of this one as well. I got this secondhand and it was like new. I don't think the person ever used it. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I go live a lot and I use my decks a lot. And I feel like a lot of people buy decks and they probably just use them for personal readings. So they're probably not as well worn or used as myself. So this was absolutely like brand new. There's two things about this deck. One thing that I really love is the guidebook, and I'm a big, big fan of guidebook. Give me a good guidebook any day. And I'm not going to go too deep in this because you'll see the review, but I loved the upright and I love the reversed. I love the way it's simple to me. It works for me. What doesn't work for me for this deck, sorry about the banging, but we've got building next door, is the stories. I don't like that. I feel like I slip then into thinking more, as opposed to, I'm a big one with intuitive reading, I delve into that more, wanting to know about the story or thinking, as opposed to using my intuition, you know, as opposed to allowing it to flow. So that's the reason why I'm not holding on to this deck. Plus, I have taken notes of how she has pinpointed each card in order to help me continue to grow and learn about, you know, the meaning of some cards for tarot. So that's what I've done. So for instance, the Ace of Coins is about new business, money, investments, abundance, security. You know, reversed, bad finances, excessive spending, greed, stinginess, poor planning. So over time you can see that. Like you can see, like if I looked at for the cups, beautiful imagery, lovely. Can't fault this deck, but it's not for me. I feel that it's just too deep. I'm not one for deep, you know, I'm not one for deep. So I just want to look at the cups here. So we know this is all about new emotions. So we've got happiness, love, intimacy, new emotions, compassion, upside down, relationship problems, depression, sadness, creative block, regression. So like new. So if you're part of the Facebook group, Secondhand Tarot Oracle, you'll be seeing these pop up. Enjoy them for each and every one. Let me know, have you got these decks? Do you utilize these decks? Would you buy these decks? Would you get rid of them? You know, and what's the purpose? You know, what makes you buy a good deck? I'd be really interested to know if you do so. But up until next time, please don't forget to comment below. It really helps me know that these videos are liked. Please don't forget to comment, subscribe, and do all the YouTube things. Until next time.